well-muscled and sporting an armful of ink. She didn't know what the symbols were or what they represented. She only knew that, were the tabloids to be believed, they were the sort of thing that caused a lot of women to swoon. Not her. She was not given to swooning. To her, they were merely beneficial because they helped her to identify her target sooner. She stopped walking, crossing her arms beneath her breasts and cocking her hip to the right. Dmitri Markin. He wrapped his arms around his partner's waist, bent and flipped the other man over his shoulder, letting him land flat on his back on the mats. Then Dmitri straightened and turned to face her, hands on his lean hips, his chest pitching with the effort of his breathing. Sweat rolled down his skin, skating over his ab muscles and drawing her eye toward the waistband of his shorts, toward the line of hair that continued down farther beneath the fabric. Heat assaulted her, and she redirected her gaze quickly. And that didn't help at all, because as distracting as his body was, well, his face wasn't any better. A ripple of unease went through her. Photographs hadn't prepared her for the sheer magnetism he presented, an element she hadn't accounted for. The realization made her stomach squeeze tight, apprehension winding through her. She was momentarily shocked, turned to stone, by the man standing before her. Considering what he'd done for a living, it wouldn't be outside the norm for his face to be a living record of every punch she'd taken, a timeline of his years spent in the ring. But no, he didn't have the decency to be deformed. His dark hair was rumpled in a near-stylish manner, dark eyes glimmering with humour. His nose had a bump in it, likely from being broken, and it only made him look rakish, not disfigured. How annoying. Then there was the deep groove in his upper lip, likely a badly healed split, so that his mouth gave the impression he was always sneering slightly, even when he was smiling. That was rakish too. A shiver ran through her, and she fought to keep from showing the evidence of it on her face. She needed to secure this deal, so that the rift between her and her father could be stitched back together, so that she could finally move on with her life. She couldn't afford to be distracted, not when she was so close. Damn the man. Was there nowhere she could look? She let her eyes drift back to his chest, and she felt her cheeks get warmer. She had no idea what was going on with her, why for an instant she had felt frozen, why she was unable to tear her eyes away from his body. Perhaps it was simple appreciation at the weapon he clearly was. His past was no secret. Everyone was well aware of his work as a mixed martial arts fighter, and even though it had been nearly a decade since he'd set foot into a ring, he was obviously still keeping himself honed. So yes, it had something to do with all of that, and she was moving on. I am he? He took his hands from his hips and rolled his shoulders backward, thrusting his chest forward as he stretched his muscles, the shift and bunch of the lines on his body capturing her attention yet again. These were the very glistening muscles she had just been disavowing and dismissing, claiming they could not be aesthetically pleasing. At the moment she had to admit there was some aesthetic appeal, though it wasn't in the way women typically admired men. No, not in the least. This was artistic admiration. She had an eye for clean lines, good design. Dmitri was like fine architecture. She cleared her throat. My name is Victoria Calder. I do not recall hearing your name before. I don't think we have an appointment. His every word was just slightly flat, still coloured by a hint of Russian accent, though it was faded after long years of living in the UK. Unless, he said, a slow smile crossing his lips, you're looking for a chance to challenge me on the mats? She gripped the strap of her purse tighter. That's quite funny. Do you often have women coming to challenge you on the mats? The smile broadened, turned wicked, and her stomach turned over, twisted. She gritted her teeth and fought to maintain her composure. More often than you might think. She cleared her throat. Excellent, charming. That is, however, not why I'm here. Well, if it is legitimate business, an appointment is typically made. He looked her over, his gaze leaving a trail of heat behind. She tried to get her focus back, tried to